We're diving back into bodyweight exercises for Jiu Jitsu with episode 2 of this series. I'm going to lead you through 5 different exercises, all of which directly apply to Jiu Jitsu. I'm going to talk about each exercise's key details, the muscle groups affected by the exercises, and I'll slow the video down when details matter. So without further gum bumping, let's jump in. Starting off the workout with exercise number 1, single leg hip thrusts. I think it's easy to see how this correlates to jiu-jitsu performance because immediately I can see that hip thrusts are a big part of certain mount escapes. And I've never heard of an instance where someone's jiu-jitsu suffered because their bridging or hip thrusts were too strong. So because we are doing bodyweight exercises here, we're gonna make this a little bit more difficult by doing this with one leg at a time. I want you to pay attention to the position of the foot that's placed on the ground, specifically the distance between my butt and my heel. As we know with bridging in jiu-jitsu, the further your heel is away from your butt, the weaker your bridge is going to be. The same principles apply here. Now, with that being said, I don't need your heel to be right up against your butt for this exercise. Of course, focus on closing that gap when we're on the mats. But for this exercise and practicality's sake, you can have a space as much as 6 to 10 inches between your heel and your butt when doing this. If your foot gets too far from your butt, you're really wasting your time. So try to keep that distance from the heel to your butt nice and tight, and you will get the most juice for your squeeze on this one. Primary muscles you're going to be activating here are going to be your glutes and your quads, but you will touch on hamstrings just a little bit. And lastly, you're going to want to make sure you're pressing up your heel to maximize glute activation here. For this exercise, I want you doing 3 sets of 12 reps each side. Exercise number 2, pike push-ups. Now these are a great element to add to any bodyweight workout, especially when you're trying to work on your shoulder strength. If you watched episode 1 of this series, you saw the rollback to a handstand. Well, the pike push-ups are a great replacement for that exercise if you can't roll back to a full handstand. And although we don't see very many movements in jiu-jitsu where we're pressing weight above our head, shoulder strength is important for any kind of a grappling art. Not only are stronger shoulders great for helping you control parts of your opponent's limbs or even finishing certain takedowns, this is especially good to help keep your shoulders safe. Obviously, the shoulder joint is a target to some degree, especially in jiu-jitsu, so the stronger that you can get the muscles surrounding the joint, the safer you're gonna be. So pike push-ups are an excellent addition to any bodyweight workout. I want you to pay attention to the placement of my hands. They're a little bit wider than shoulder width. Also pay attention to the positioning of my feet. I've got those out at about the same distance as my hands. Now, if you wanna make this a bit more challenging, you can put your feet together because balancing on 3 points can be slightly more challenging than balancing on 4 points. Also, it's gonna make the military press portion of this itself feel a bit more heavy. So it's on you and your ability whether you choose a wide stance or a narrow stance with your feet. I am keeping somewhat of a slight bend in my legs here. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. If you can completely lock your legs out straight, that's beautiful. That means you've got very flexible hamstrings. Me, on the other hand, flexibility is something that I need to personally work on, so I wanted to display this with full transparency and full honesty. The primary muscles we are activating here are deltoids and triceps. I want you doing this one at 3 sets of 12 reps. Exercise number 3, commando planks. Now, I really enjoy this one because, as you've seen probably in episode 1 of this series, I like to incorporate exercises that include using multiple muscle groups at once. As we know in jiu-jitsu, we are multitasking with our body and our muscles. So being able to include exercises that require multiple muscles activated at once will really help with our coordination. As you can see here, I'm starting from the push-up position, and because it is a plank, I do need to keep my core nice and tight. As I drop down to each elbow, it will be a bit more challenging to keep your core tight. This is something that you need to focus on. Once I make it down to both of my elbows, I then begin to build back up into the push-up position, all the while keeping my core nice and tight. You can also use this exercise as an opportunity to work on your breathing. So often in jiu-jitsu, we hold our breath when doing a big movement, and that is the best thing to do if you want to gas out quick. So we're using this as an opportunity to breathe through our reps. For this, we are doing 3 sets of 30 seconds. If you're brand new to commando planks, if you have a strong core or you're familiar with this one, start off with 60 seconds or 90 seconds and work your way up to sets of 120 seconds. Exercise number 4, combat burpees. These ones are tough. If your heart wasn't pounding yet, it will be when we're done with these. This reminds me of sprawl drills to some degree. We are starting in a 1 knee up, 1 knee down position, but from here we're kicking our legs back and dropping into a push-up position. From here, here we are exploding up from this push-up position, bringing our legs back underneath our body in a one knee up, one knee down position. Not only will this work on your coordination with getting your feet back as we do when we sprawl, it's also going to help improve the explosiveness that we produce with our chest and triceps. I love having an explosive chest because this helps set up takedowns. Thinking of scenarios where this could apply to jiu-jitsu, I love setting up my takedowns with this. If I have an opponent who's pushing into me, I like to explosively push back, being very aware of the fact he may be trying to set up a throw. But if he's not trying to set up a throw and he comes back with more pressure in my direction, I drop my level, I shoot a double, and because his weight is coming at me, he's coming up and over my shoulder as I shoot that double, thus making the takedown that much easier to do. Our primary muscles we're activating in this one will be our quads, our chest, our triceps, but we'll also be getting a lot of core and shoulders in this as well. I want you doing 3 sets of 12 reps each side. And like I said earlier, if you weren't tired up until this point, you will be once you're done with these. Exercise number 5, last but certainly not least, rocking chair squats. Now, because this is a squat variation, we will be working our quadriceps, our calf muscles, and even our glutes. But if you don't have proper balance, you won't even be able to complete 1 rep. And that's exactly why I like to include this one. I don't think anyone will argue that balance is important in jiu-jitsu. You could be the strongest guy in the world, but if you have poor balance, it's going to be easier to take you down. So we're working on that with this one. There's a few things I want you to pay attention on this one. First off, my foot placement. My feet are close together. This makes the balance portion a little bit more tough, which is the point. I also want you to pay attention to how I stand up. Not only am I using my hands to keep my balance, I'm also using my head. And here we are again seeing multiple body parts in action at once. This is what jiu-jitsu is, using multiple body parts at once to affect a certain outcome. So not only am I using my arms as a counterweight to help keep my balance on the way up, I'm also using my head as a counterweight as well. Pay attention to what I'm doing here. As I stand up, I'm leaning my head a little bit forward. I'm not keeping my head stationary. I'm not staying neutral with my spine. I'm leaning a bit forward, getting the weight of my body forward as I stand up. So even though this may be a bit easy for you as far as strength goes, it will certainly help improve your balance, which is a vital asset in jiu-jitsu, especially when we're on our feet. And I want you running this one at 3 sets of 15 reps. And that's the workout, guys. I hope you see a pattern here. We don't need to do complex exercises to get the results we want to do. All we really need is long-term consistency. So run these exercises. Let me know what you think of these. Give me feedback on them, right? You guys are a wealth of knowledge. I'm out here trying to provide help, be a resource for you guys, but a lot of you are really knowledgeable too. So drop your comments down below. Let me know what you think. If you tried it and you like them, let me know. If you tried it and something was difficult, let me know. Your feedback is just as valuable to me as the information I am giving to you. So I always appreciate any and all comments, guys. As I promised you, we will be turning this into a series. We got really good feedback from episode 1, so I hope you like episode 2 and the rest of the episodes that are coming after this. Just like in episode 1, you don't need a gym to do these. You can do these at home in the comfort of your house or even your backyard like I chose to do. If you want, you can do them at your jiu-jitsu school before or after training. It's on you and what works for you. So sit tight because we do have more fitness, athlete recipe, and jiu-jitsu content on the way. And with that being said, you guys know how we like to end them. Eat plants, train hard, and feel good. I'll see you in the next one. And a little reminder for you guys, you don't need to do these perfectly, especially on day 1. If you're making mistakes, be patient with yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself. These things happen. Just like in jiu-jitsu, we go to training, we make mistakes, we get beat, then we get better. And we run that cycle on repeat. Fitness is the same thing. As long as you're focusing on safety, you're good to go to make the mistakes. So make your mistakes, train hard, push through. Don't be too hard on yourself. You will get better. I promise you that. I'll see you in the next one.